Now coming to, if you see while somebody wants to launch their own rollup, there are various components. So one is the rollup stack, and we have Osman and Idon both have talked at length about, ZK rollup stack and specifically Polygon CDK, which makes it super, super easy to deploy your own rollup chain. And it comes with a certain set of core components which enable you to launch your rollup. But at the same time, all these stacks are pretty new. The technologies are new. There's a huge learning curve for any startup to launch something on their own. And then in addition to that, startups do require different other integrations, different other features, depending on their use case. So there are various startups like in the gaming space and in DeFi space who look for account abstraction. And there are startups who are looking for interoperability bridges from day one, right? Or support for alternate data availability, because having Ethereum as your data layer becomes super expensive. Even with blobs, it's still pretty expensive. So and that's where a player like Zeeve, Rollup as a service player, comes in. And I think Osman, since you are working very closely with the Rollup as a service teams, so what is your take on the importance of having a RaaS player to partner with somebody who is planning to launch their own rollup chain?
Yeah, very good question. I think rollup as a service is one of the proven business models in the industry so far. The reason why it makes sense is, historically, when you look at building and maintaining your own chain, it required teams. Like really, we're talking about tens of employees and team members and contributors to actually build the chain, maintain the chain, and then grow an ecosystem around it. So I would say rollup as a service providers have this know-how of launching chains at scale. And through that experience, there are some repeatable patterns. And these repeatable patterns are kind of like win-win. They not only help rollup as a service providers launch more chains at scale, but at the same time, they kind of take away the operational burden from the chain builders to build their own chains. So at a very high level, working with a rollup as a service is a very common decision that we see in the industry from Polygon builders. I would say majority of the chain builders end up working with the rollup as a service providers unless they are building their own chain as an additional side business to their existing chain, or there may be some other scenarios as well. But we do see a lot of adoption from Polygon builders to work with rollup as a service providers. One particular thing from our working model, from Polygon's working model with rollup as a service providers, was that for Polygon, it also made a lot of sense to work with rollup as a service providers, because the idea is that as Polygon is building the base protocol, which is very technical, requires a lot of testing, a lot of product research, a lot of auditing. On top of that, you have to go out and implement it, because even though you have all the documentation out there and theoretically anyone can go and use your documentation to build a chain, it doesn't really work that way. We're still talking about a pretty technical stack. That's where we as Polygon benefited a lot from collaborating with rollup as a service providers like Zeeve, because these providers we worked very closely with, and we kind of equipped all of these providers with the technical know-how of solving the issues and the interesting challenges of building a CDK rollup, and we that helped us basically solve customer problems at scale, implement rollups at scale, and that was this created a very good flywheel. So Polygon could focus on building the protocol as well as some other activities to grow the ecosystem, so that the chains that rollup as a service providers end up having an ecosystem once they're on mainnet. And I actually, Ravi, you asked about AgLayer in your previous question, and maybe we can leave that to a little bit later. But now with the AgLayer vision, which is essentially the vision that brings together all of the historical Polygon protocols like POS, ZK, EVM, and various CDK chains. Rollup as a service providers play a very key role as well. If you ask how, very simply, for AgLayer to benefit, there needs to be more chain. For AgLayer to make sense, there needs to be more chains attached to it, so that network effects kick in. And at this point, Rollup as a service providers play a very key role, because they kind of get into the weeds of AgLayer and get into the weeds of each chain, and they figure out, Rollup as a service providers figure out the intricacies of attaching AgLayer chains to the AgLayer. And we do foresee that the more chains are attached to the AgLayer, these intricacies will be a pattern for Rollup as a service providers. So these intricacies will get lower as well. But that's kind of like how we're also thinking about working with Rollup as a service providers like Zeeve in the future as well.